Hey, what's going on, people? Cooking some food right now. I purchased my mother a cake. My mom's birthday is tomorrow. It's funny, one of my subscribers' birthday was yesterday. My mom's birthday is tomorrow. This is just kind of crazy. And because I know when it's my mother's birthday, it reminds me of Pearl Harbor. My tongue is swollen if you can hear my voice. But Pearl Harbor anniversary was yesterday, the 84th anniversary. I remember that game. We had Medal of Honor on PS2 based on Pearl Harbor. And then today is the anniversary of the death of John Lennon. I don't really know too much about John Lennon, like him dying, his death. I just know that the killer, to my knowledge, he read the book Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Sullinger, and it was a movie about him. But what people don't know is John Lennon was killed the same day as a guitarist for a band called Pantera. Now, I didn't know who they were when they disbanded and when the lead guitarist was killed. But thanks to Beavis and Butthead, I learned about the group because this is how I found out about Beavis and Butthead. So my dad had a lot of DVDs. We watched a lot of movies. He had a lot of movies back in the day before Amazon, and well, there was Amazon back then, but it wasn't what it is now. So we had DVDs. We had this guy named Mr. Doug at his job. He was the guy that would get his movies. So we had The Longest Yard. I don't know how I remember this, but we had, well, I do. I have a good memory. There's a movie called The Longest Yard. It was showing all the previews. So when we have a DVD back in the day, it would show previews of another movie or a DVD series or a TV show. Beavis and Butthead, the commercial for that, the infomercial for that was playing on The Longest Yard DVD. And this song, remember this song, the Pantera song, This Love, I just fell in love with the melody and just the sound of Phil Anselmo, this lead singer, if I said that right. I fell in love with his voice. And I was like, how do I find this song? It was no internet like it is back then. So I was just like, I want to hear this song. I remember Beavis was like, damn it, Pantera, this beer is warm. Give me another one. And I was just like, who is this band? I'm like, who is Pantera? What is that? Like, where do I find that group? And eventually, I found out who they were. I don't know it was either I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know the origins because I was on Wikipedia. I didn't really start using Wikipedia until I was about 13, 14. So just understand Pantera was on SpongeBob, that Hibernation Week episode. And that's about it. And Beavis and Butthead. But I learned the story of the assassin perpetrator, Nathan Gale. Now, Nathan Gale was born on September 11th, just like one of the Columbine killers. And Nathan Gale had so I'm gonna tell you his whole backstory. I know his whole story. He was born. Oh, my food is done. So I believe he was born in Chicago. He was born in Chicago, but he was raised in Ohio. He didn't know his father at all. His mom was, just raising him by herself. And he was pretty, they said he was a loner as a kid. He had problems with drugs. He was a they called him Crazy Nate. And he was a big dude. He was like 6'3", almost 300 pounds. He had some issues growing up, but he finished high school, and you know he lived pretty rough after high school. After high school, he was doing drugs to the point where his mother kicked him out on like several occasions, and he was on the street. He would literally sleep outside, like the same, or like in the vicinity of his mother's home. Sometimes I think it was an apartment or a house. But he was arrested sometimes, but that didn't prevent him. It didn't hinder him from joining the Marines. He joined the Marines. He was inspired by the terrorist attacks of 9/11. He joined the Marines, but it was really short lived because his mental health it it came it you know that got in the way of his service. Well, his duties there, it got in the way of that. So they gave him, I believe, a honorable discharge. It was medical or something. But he was diagnosed with PS. I don't like saying certain words, but he had a mental illness, PS, and it wasn't clear now if he was taking his medication. But like also around this time, he was also a semi-professional football player. Like during like warm up, he would listen to Pantera on his Walkman. A lot of y'all don't know what Walkmans are. Those were like the iPods of like the early 2000s. But yeah, he wound up coming back home to Ohio, and he worked as a mechanic, but it wasn't paying a lot of money. He wasn't making too much money because he lived with his mother, but she moved out, so he had to cover all the bills. He was taking care of everything on his own, and I don't think he had a job at the time. And it was rumors that he was using cocaine. He always had a problem with drugs, but this time he did cocaine. And this is the like this is the theory behind why he did what he did, because he always felt like people were like videotaping him and watching him. He felt like he was being like recorded by people. So his whole world. Here's another thing too. So he felt like Pantera was stealing his music because he would show his friends lyrics of that he wrote, and it obviously wasn't his. It was Pantera's, but he accused him of stealing his music. So a lot of people distanced themselves from him. They called him Crazy Nate, and I feel like this. When you don't have a lot to lose, it sounded like he was probably going to be homeless again. Probably going to lose his home, his house, his apartment, because he didn't have a job at the time. He's doing drugs, and it was a time. It was an incident at like this tattoo parlor where he wanted to get like a tattoo done. I think he wanted to like do it on himself. He wanted the equipment, and they didn't. They weren't going to give it to him, and he was just like, bullshit, man. And and I think this was during the same day before he went to the nightclub. He had like a hockey jersey on and a baseball cap. And he opened fire on people. And I think it was a little bit of some hand-to-hand combat as well. But he rushed on stage. He shot at Dimebag Darrell. And some people thought it was part of the act. People thought it was part of the concert, but he was shot on stage, shot on camera, just like Christina Grimmie. People compare that to Christina Grimmie and a little bit of John Lennon. But he was shot. Dimebag Darrell was shot, And I believe the motive behind it was just hopelessness, not really thinking his music was being stolen, but he wanted to be, I feel like he wanted to be known for something. And unfortunately, Nathan, Crazy Nate, was shot in the face. His head, sources say his head was blown off by a cop. Now, this word I feel comfortable saying, but how do you get away with a name like this? Officer Niggermeyer. That's the name of the cop that shot him. And the mother congratulated the cop because she felt like if he didn't take any action, more lives would have been claimed. Now, he was so messed up by killing Nathan that he resigned from the force, which he should have, because, I don't feel like he was making a difference anyway as a cop. But this just shows you this. When you don't have much to lose, when your life isn't where it wants to be, when you don't have a lot of people to talk to, sometimes you may do things like this. I sympathize for Nathan. I can relate to him, but I don't want to kill a guitarist for a band that's not even active anymore, because that's not a legacy I want to live. I don't want to I don't want to be remembered by just that. Because I've said this before, when you kill somebody that's prominent, you're known just as that. Like you are known for that now, unless you done more in your life. Like Suge Knight, for example. Suge Knight ran somebody over, but he's known more. People just don't talk about that. They talk about Death Row. They talk about his stint in the NFL. They talk about all the stuff he did, all the artists that he punked out. So, unfortunately, though, Nathan didn't live to see his full potential. If he had someone like me in his life, maybe he wouldn't have did what he did.